However, by asking her, after this, what many people would regard as really good news about the vaccine, what she'd been told about how quickly we could get back to a life that might feel, well, it's hard to remember what normal really was, but let's use that word, get back to normal.
Well, clearly the news from Pfizer is very exciting, not only the technology itself, but also because we're well prepared. We've already purchased in advance 40 million doses, which would help 20 million people. So as and when the vaccines are verified and we can get the logistics ready, we should be ready to start vaccinating people. So, I know that Matt Hancock is hopeful for December, but I think early next year is more likely.
But in terms of when we may feel, it matters to you because, of course, you're having to tackle a whole problem of rising unemployment, but when we might feel that our lives and our economy is a bit like it was before March this year. Any sense of that?
Well, I'm conscious that, there's been an economic impact as a consequence of coronavirus, and going into national restrictions wasn't something we did lightly, but I'm confident that the goodwill of the British people means that we'll get our well back down below 1. So, I'm hopeful that we'll be able to not need further national restrictions in December.
This has been an illness that has, frankly, been much worse as a crisis for poorer people. Can you stop rich people jumping the queue and getting the vaccine ahead of others?
Well, through the UK Vaccine Task Force, which has been brilliantly chaired by Kate Bingham, I think that we can choose how we decide to at least prioritise the vaccines that are coming through the UK government. And that will be done after considering the recommendations. We've already seen some of those through the JCVI. At the end of the day, we are well purchased, and I don't think we're going to be stopping other people buying vaccines, but I think we're well placed to make sure we help as many people as possible in this country as quickly as possible.
Exactly. You can't stop a private supply chain, can you? I mean, that would not be... I mean, we've got a private medical industry here.
Well, indeed, but we have already effectively got purchased 340 million doses of a variety of vaccines because it was important to make sure that we worked with all the major projects around the world in order to be ready so that we were ready to go.
Now, in the Daily Lobby briefing today, we got a pretty strong sense that the £20 emergency increase in universal credit would be made permanent. Is that your plan?
Well, the Prime Minister's made clear that this is firmly confirmed until the end of the financial year, till the end of March. But as I have said to Parliament on several occasions now, we're in constant discussion with Treasury about what we can do to make sure we support people through the welfare system, as well as all the preparation of helping businesses that we've done along the way. So I'm not going to make any announcements here tonight, Robert. We're still working through those matters.
But politically, you couldn't take away a payment that people have become dependent on. It's just, it would be just inconceivable, isn't it, that you could take away that 20 quid?
Well, I know you're an excellent journalist, but genuinely, I have to undertake a review. I am doing that review right now, and I'm in active discussion about the best way to use the welfare support system. Of course, the £20 uplift in universal credit has been a significant part of that. So has other things about how we've helped people with housing costs. But I'm also have pulled together groups of people right across government, also about how we help tackle the cost of living, because I think that's an important part as well, not just about cash transfers, but what we can do to actually make life more comfortable for people.
If it's not about cash, how else do you help people with the cost of living?
Well, obviously cash transfers through the benefit system is one element, but I'm quite struck by University of Bristol poverty premium, as they call it, and about half of that is still about £490, they think, is the poverty premium when it comes to general cost of living, and about half of that is actually on energy bills. So I think there's more that we can still do to try and help people in terms of managing aspects of their finances, and that's why we continue to support things like the Money and Pensions Advice Service and also some of the work that we do through Citizens Advice Bureau on Help to Claim.
Are you basically saying you might do more to force energy companies not to overcharge poorer people?
Well, I think there's still a lot of things that we can do to try and help people with the cost of energy. Obviously, the warm home discount is widely available, or more widely available, because more people are on benefits right now. But we need to make sure that eligible people take that up. So there's a variety of things that we can continue to do to try and help people claim the benefits to which they're entitled, but also some of the other work that they can do to help manage the cost of living.
Now,
and of course, one element of that is something that we're doing with the 170 million COVID winter support grant that I announced earlier this week. And that will be helping a lot, in particular focusing on children, but also there'll be some flexibility for councils to help other vulnerable people with heating, with eating, and some other essentials too.
Well, why did you rush out what was a U-turn when everybody else's attention was on the US elections? Was the Prime Minister just embarrassed not to have responded to Marcus Rashford earlier?
I think it's a case that earlier in the year we'd already undertaken a welfare support package. There's been a lot of work coming together to, I think one of the most important parts of what I announced on Monday was actually the £220 million holiday activity fund, which is really important about helping children reach their full potential. So parts of government have been working together to think about how we can best support families, not only just through this winter, but also for the year ahead as well. So it's been cross-government working, coming together.
Very briefly, what did you think when you heard Baroness Harding talk about how the reason not enough people were going for tests and isolating was they simply couldn't live on £500, which is the payment that they get if they are on low wages?
Well, I think the decision taken over that package, which I think is actually a very substantial package. If you think about this, is for people who would be on benefits, already on low incomes, to have a £500 payment possible for making sure that you were well equipped to self-isolate. And there are some discretionary elements as well, I believe, through that scheme. I think that was a substantial package from the government in order to try and encourage compliance with isolation.
So you're saying Baroness Harding is just wrong?
Well, I think there's a variety of ways that we've been helping people during this time. You know, there's a few things that we've been doing with universal credit in terms of helping the self-employed, not extending the minimum income floor policy till the end of April. There's a number of different activities where we're making sure schools are open, for example, so children can go to school. There were some challenges earlier on about people, whether they could have childcare or not. You know, there's a variety of ways that we're trying to help people do the right thing in order to make sure that life can go on relatively normal.
But there are 2 million self-employed people who say it's simply not fair that they are tapping your benefit, universal credit, rather than getting the self-employed income support scheme, which is way more generous. It's not fair, is it?
Well, I think the self-employed support scheme has been designed in a particular way, a percentage of taxable profits, and that's covered, I think, the vast majority of people who are self-employed. There are other ways to support if people are eligible for universal credit, or there may be other benefits for which they're eligible if they've been paying national insurance contributions regularly. So I'm conscious there will people who may feel that they haven't had their fair share of what they consider to, but it is £210 billion that has been put in to support the people of this country.
Finally, a very quick one. Prime Minister apparently doesn't think Downing Street runs smoothly. He wants a chief of staff. Is he right? Is Downing Street a bit shambolic?
I would say that you know, the role of Chief of Staff is going to be an important one for the Prime Minister. He has a variety of really high-class advisors. I'm not really going to get involved in one job in Downing Street, where naturally I'm trying to make sure that we do our best to help 1.6 million people find a job as soon as possible. So I'll leave that speculation to the Westminster bubble.
Well, they're going to speculate away, aren't they? Listen, great to see you as always.